Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Beth, and in today's video I wanted to talk about the Lisa Eldridge Vega palette, which is my favorite eyeshadow palette of the moment, and usually what I'm reaching for every day before I go to work. So the reason I wanted to talk about this in particular, this is a brand new palette in case you couldn't tell. I just talked about this in my London haul that I uploaded a few weeks ago, I guess. So I repurchased it. And the reason I repurchased it is the original one I had, I purchased around when it came out. So I think fall of 2022. So it's going on 2.5 years. And these are just the two shades that I don't really reach for. So I kept them in the palette. The other ones I put into this little Z palette. But anyway, because I have been wearing it so much, I am definitely making a good dent. So the Vega shades are in that top row there, and this is what I actually took with me to go to London. I'll just mention again that if you are traveling with these, I would recommend putting them in your carry-on versus your checked luggage, because like this shade down here, you can see a little bit of pan in the corner. That's not because I hit pan, it's because that one kind of broke a little bit and I had to kind of press it back in. Luckily, it's the type of formula that does press in pretty easily. But yeah, that shade in the upper corner, that was all me. That is actual pan. And this shade here is one that I think I might be close to hitting pan on. So with the whole tariff situation and everything going on, I figured I might as well pick it up in London, and I got like a gift with purchase from Liberty and that kind of thing. But anyway, because I repurchased it, I figured it'd be just an interesting little experiment to put these shadows on one eye and the new shadows on the other to see if there's any difference in performance after about 2.5 years. The shelf life on these is 24 months, so we're past that. Not by a whole lot, but technically these are expired. I've been using my old shadows without any issues. I'm just going to start by applying some Fenty primer. So with eyeshadows in particular, I mean, I would be a little bit more cautious with things like mascara, but with shadows, especially powder shadows, you know, I think it's kind of a use your best judgment and gauge how comfortable you personally are with using those shadows. So I'm going to set that primer with a Charlotte Tilbury powder here, which I also just kept in the palette I used to travel with. So just setting that primer a little bit. So I am going to be using most of the same brushes on both eyes. I have my Sigma switch here to clean them off. I think I was talking about the tariffs. Lisa Eldridge is still shipping to US customers if you purchase on her site. I believe Space NK, which is another Lisa Eldridge retailer and one that I like because it has point system and that kind of thing, I believe their shipments to the US are still paused. You can purchase from Liberty, but I don't know if it's really beneficial to order from them in the States. Space NK has a fairly low shipping threshold. It can still take a little bit of time to get here, but anyway, these 4 shades, like I showed you on the left, I'm just going to keep them in this palette so I can kind of keep these straight a little bit. And I'm using my Sonia G brushes as usual, and then I have the Rephr 28. I do have 2 Rephr 28 brushes that are both clean, miraculously, so I will use one on one eye and one on the other because it's the same brush. These are a little bit too pricey to do that. Okay, so I'm going to do the old palette on my left eye, so maybe I'll just put something up on the screen that says old. And I'm just going to go into this palette. So the reason why I like this palette so much is it's just a really easy palette to use getting ready. And I also think the shades are just really nice on my skin tone, personally. So as you maybe could tell in the pan and the way it's kind of wearing, it is a kind of cream to powder formula, which personally I think is nice for an everyday kind of look because they're harder to overdo. So going into this palette now, that's what it looks like, all nice and new. I did want to mention before I do that, so you can see those holes in the back that make it really easy to remove the pans, and Lisa does sell the pans separately, which I think is great. So in theory, I could have just repurchased, I guess, my favorite shadows. When I did remove them, what I did was I made little stickers with my label maker. If you can see that. I have the palette, the shade, and the formula. For her newer palettes, Lisa has actually put a label on the back. So this is from the Fawn palette. This is the white tie shade, and it's a luminous formula. So if you can see, it's a transparent sticker, so it's a little hard to see, but it has her logo, white tie, and then luminous. It'd be nice if it had the palette name on there, but it's not the biggest deal. So I do appreciate that she did that, especially if you're buying single shades, for example. So I had actually cut out part of the packaging for some of the singles I had purchased a couple years ago. That was largely due to the packaging for the single shades. All right, so going into that same French gray shade on this eye. So pretty similar. Like I said, these are pretty subtle shades. I don't know if you can see a difference at all. And then I like to take my little flat definer from Sonia G as well and just run that under the lash line a little bit, like so. That just helps a little bit with creasing. So cleaning that brush off and going into the same shade in the old palette, like so. And then what I like to do next, so I take the mini booster from Sonia G and go into that slightly darker matte brown and just kind of pounce it in there a little bit, and then go, this is the left side. And my eye is watering just a tad. And then I'll go in and blend that out a little bit in a minute. But again, cleaning off my brush, going into the new shade and kind of creating this V shape. I'd say the new ones are maybe a tad bit more pigmented and smooth, but you know, I'm doing my best to make this even. Again, this is the old palette. And then I like to take the classic crease again and just kind of go over that. These brushes weren't clean, I'll just say that, but it's a little bit more difficult to clean your favorite brushes when you want them to be ready to use. Okay, so that's just the base for the look. And now I do have these two Rephr 28 brushes. These are my favorite for kind of a shimmery metallic formula. So let's go in with this shade right here. And this is a dry brush. So what I like to do here is I just apply it, and I mean, the instant shine and reflectivity without much work just gets me every time. All right, so I'll leave it there for just a second. So make sure I use the other brush here. So like I said, I like to wear this going to work. Whether or not you like to wear something lighter on the eyes is up to you, of course. So I think because this is a newer palette, I had to maybe dip in a couple more times just because, you know, the surface hasn't been kind of broken up as much. But yeah, those, they don't look too far off to me. Okay, so going back to my first 28 brush, and I'm just gonna turn it over to the other side and then go into that bottom shade there. And I think this is what makes it really sing here. So just going in and picking it up, and you know, depending on how much you pick up and how careful you are, you might get a tiny bit of fallout. You can, you know, try and build it up a little bit more slowly, but I don't know, it gives a lot of shine and dimension, and I can do this whole look pretty quickly, obviously a lot more quickly than when I'm talking through it, but I'm going with my other brush here into the same shade. And again, this one you might want to be a little bit more careful with how much you pick up. That's basically it. And what I'll do then is take my classic crease again and just go along the edges. I do have more hooded eyes, so I do have to kind of apply a little bit more, I guess, just so you can kind of see it. But yeah, that's basically what I do. And then following that, I'll take my Lisa Eldridge liner here in Cinder Smoke, and then I'll just kind of touch that from the midpoint, and then take my little BK 208 brush and smooth that. And yeah, you can see there's a little bit of fallout, but not enough that bothers me. What does bother me is my eye watering. I put some eye drops in before I started filming, so maybe that's it. And then just take some on the tip there and kind of line it up and then drag it over. So I'm trying to line it up between the outer corner of my eye and the tail of my brow. And the reason I like this brush so much as well is because it is pretty small, which means I can follow that technique without making the wing too long. And then same thing on this side. And that's basically it. Hopefully I got the wings relatively even there. As with anything, the more you do something and practice, the faster you become. And usually I skip mascara on my bottom lashes during the day. I don't want to mess with any potential smudging, so just give the lashes a good curl. And then go in with my Tarte Lights Camera Splashes. This is a newer tube, so it's not quite as thickening. Usually I do that, and then I'll go in and do the other eye. And then usually I'll do a second coat, because why not? And that's basically it for my everyday eye look. I thought about filming my whole morning makeup routine in real time, maybe as a voiceover, but yeah, that's what I do most days for my eyes. Some days I'll play around with a different palette or whatever. I'll just throw a lip balm on. So anyway, that's it for this video. It was more just kind of my own curiosity about, you know, how well those shadows were holding up, but I think we can see that they both look pretty much identical. So let me know if you guys liked this video, and if you did, make sure to like and subscribe, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.